Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. We are having some issues tonight with StreamYard letting Eagle Eye Kenny on. Um, so me and AR are just going to do a normal little chat here and kind of throw it together. Kenny on.
Hold on a second.
And we'll just try to keep you guys entertained for a little while. So, AR, what have you been doing, brother?
Sitting here waiting on you all and working on 9mm a little bit. Anyway, I've got a primer issue here I got to do.
What's going on with your primer?
It got bent last night in the live stream. Something hung up on the shell holder here, and it's like it's warped or something. I'm gonna check it, take it apart.
On the shell holder?
Yeah, no, the shaft off the arm. The arm don't look bent, but it actually hangs on the shell holder, which is weird. There it is.
Oh, the cup that holds the primer.
It's hitting the freaking shell holder now.
What I've noticed about those cups is they will, if you ever have an issue with a primer not going in right, turn sideways, it will sometimes stretch those cups out when they will not fit through the center.
You're right. I see it.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see where it's been hanging.
Yeah, where it's rubbing like a hot spot.
Yeah. I have to call Redding.
Yeah, call Redding and they will replace that piece for you. That's a common wear part, those things, because of just the amount of force that's being shoved on those little tiny parts with little bits of steel.
Like I said, I don't like priming on a press. And that's what I was doing when it messed up. It's just strange how they kind of make it as an afterthought, you know.
Yeah, that's what I've always said. It's like they build the press, they get all the way done with it, and they're happy with it. And then they're like, hey, we forgot to put a priming system on it. And some guy is like, hey, I got an idea. And
or let's don't take the time to line it up properly.
Yeah.
Who knows? What's up, everyone?
Hey, everyone in the side chat. I'll read you off since AR's pushing bullets through a sizing die. Ocean 374. Hey, brother, what is going on? How are you doing tonight? Welcome, everyone. Andy 79Z28. Andre, what is going on? Gun loving grandpa. Uncle John, what are you fellas up to? Yeah, we had a little bit of difficulty with getting Kenny onto the show. We're gonna try and have him log in. He's trying his laptop right now. StreamYard is not letting him in. I've sent him 2 different links. It's acting a little funny. But that's not going to stop us from having a good time and hanging out. So we will reschedule if that is needed, and we will just move on. So you're resizing 9mm brass there. Is this range pickup brass, AR?
Yeah, range pickup. And I'm just doing it to the Redding steel die only. I'm not using a carbide lately.
Oh, okay.
No need to, believe it or not. Not since I got the factory crimp die by Lee.
Yeah, the factory crimp die will make up for some mistakes in your actually bullet seating, if there's any wrinkles in the case, or if there's any lack of tautness for your mouth of neck tension. You will that tightens it right up.
Yeah, it's designed different. It's like a sleeve inside of it, a bushing. Like it still does the same thing, except it does 2 things. I thought I seen somebody come on, but apparently not. I've been blurring my eye. So, what's up, everyone?
How's everybody doing this evening?
Hey, Michael, James, Ocean,
There's James.
Grandpa, Uncle John. Good to see you all.
Michael Hurtneck, what's going on, brother?
Andre.
Yet anybody that hasn't heard yet, Kenny is trying to get on right now with Desert Precision Rifle Works. He is having some StreamYard trouble.
Mm-hmm. Rollis is with us. What's up, Rollis? Good to see you. You got a couple on here that wasn't even on mine last night, I think. So that's good. I put out the thing for you today. Get that done.
I appreciate it. Rollis, what's going on, brother? It looks like AR is just redoing some 9mm here. AR, it's going to be on you doing some 9mm. So what are you doing there? And tell us what you're trying to hit, overall length and stuff. What gun are you really loading for? Multiple or one in particular?
Multiple, but it does work in my 1911 Springfield. What is it? Range officer.
So you just that is your tightest chamber. So that's the one you set it up for.
Yeah, I set it up for the case gauge actually, and for the overall length. You know, in the 10th edition, the length is what is the length? I didn't write the length down on here, which is weird. I usually do. Hang on a minute, and I'll tell you. It's 115 grain XTP hollow point. What is it? Let me see. 9mm. I think I got it. I just hate to say the. Let's see.
So you're using the XTP bullet from Hornady, a 115 grain.
Yeah. The overall length is 1.075. Yeah. And I'm doing 4.8 grains, which is 1050 feet per second of unique. Wait a minute. Yeah. About a little over 1050. The max is 5.4 at 1150. So just in case there's no reason I could go a lot higher, but I'm not. I'll fire it and see if it works.
What's you're running 5 what?
I'm running 4.8 grains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 5.4 is the max. 5.0 it'll do 1100 feet per minute. And I've been trickling. I need to get I'm gonna have to get the powder down now. So I'm gonna sit here and trickle and do some things. And I don't have it set up yet. I did last night. And it's funny, I had it set up last night and didn't even talk about it. And tonight I needed it set up. So
let's see if this works.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me. All right, that's a start.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So what's going on, brother?
I had to reset the whole internet, the whole house, and everything. I don't know what happened. I locked it all up somehow.
Oh, yeah. That is unfortunate.
Hey, I'm on now.
Okay, so all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to Kenny here, and he is a small business operator, and he owns Desert Precision Rifle Works, and he is a Arizona-based company, and basically he builds custom rifles, does custom barrel works. Oh, and he has some internet problems.
Haven't we seen you around somewhere before?
Hold on, there we go.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm just on mobile. I'm not even going to use my Wi-Fi. So
okay, all right. So yeah, so basically, Kenny owns his own shop, and he's got a lathe, and he's got his FFLs, and he manufactures firearms, custom rifles, all the way from mild to wild.
Yeah.
does a lot of experimenting with load development on some of your newer cartridges, like the 6 ARC and things like that.
Right.
Kenny, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and your company and how you got started?
Okay. Well, I'm just an ordinary person, just like a majority of guys that just love shooting. I love the long range aspect. I love the precision reloading side of things. So bolt action rifles are my forte. I'm just starting to get into ARs, and I kind of wanted to just take my machining background. I came from the tool and die industry. Growing up as a kid, my whole family basically started a precision tool and die making, doing semiconductor tool stamps and everything for Cisco systems, Intel, microprocessor controls. Even made some things for the Hubble telescope that are actually patented and actually up in space right now. So it's pretty cool to see basically that side of how things can be produced as precise as they are back in the early 90s growing up. And I always thought to myself, hey man, I hate being behind a computer and programming all day and operating a CNC. I don't want anything to do with it. So went into basically with the railroad. So that's currently my current job. But as I progress into getting into firearms, I just noticed myself being drawn back into the precision things. And the tool and die industry really called back out to me. And that's something my dad wanted to pass down to me, was basically how to operate lathes, how to operate CNC machines, wire EDMs, Doosan CNCs. I mean, you name it, Haas VF3s, VF6s. I've had experience operating those, programming on SolidWorks, all of that. And it's just entailed now towards, I started building precision rifles. Started off with basically my friends and family. I built a lot of Remington 700 actions, basically blueprinting those things, putting barrels on them. And eventually it became I guess a side job here. So it all started basically kind of unfortunate, but it started off on a bad note with a network, or basically a social media platform that you guys know of. Won't say their names, but it just became sour. The guy ended up being really I guess selfish and started advertising things, and to the point to where I was just asking to get into SHOT Show for me and my wife. So didn't get the support and feedback from that person, and I said, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to start my own LLC. That way I could get into SHOT Show. And that's basically how it all started. I said I needed basically just a simple letter. I wrote up a letter and it never got signed off. That's all that needed to be done. So between all that, I still got in, and from there I just took off. Became LLC. I started building some few rifles, and word got out to folks in the East Coast. Some of the rifles that I built have won championships lately over there for PRS. And there's a few channels here on YouTube called, guys, if you guys follow them, X-Ring. I built a few rifles from him, and he's been taking those things and making phenomenal shots with that. So word just got around. We're the third year in business now. That's pretty exciting to see how far it's taken. Progression wise, it's growing fast. I can't keep up with the rifle builds, but my main thing is FTQ, which is first time quality. That's something I instilled in me as a kid, and that's, to me, I would value quality over quantity at any day, any time of the year. So at this point, I'm just trying to make a fine balance of keeping up with production and keeping that quality up. So that's basically the background there.
Cool.
I lost you there, Echo. I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So basically, where did you grow up, Kenny?
Well, I grew up East Coast, came from the Philippines, moved to San Jose. That's how all that tool and die industry came about. Stepdad worked for GE, so we moved to Schenectady, New York. Mostly grew up there, then came back to Central California, where we were living in Fresno and then up to San Jose. So I've been both sides of the state. Honestly, I love the East Coast. That's where my heart belongs. Growing up there as a kid, I really loved where I was. But yeah, that's basically where I came from.
That's pretty neat, man. So your family basically started out in tool and die industry and went into CNC and I'm sure AutoCAD and all that stuff when that started hitting the scenes in the early 80s.
Yeah,
And just basically you guys hit the machinist market at like a basically a technological revolution where we were going from old school digital gauges to now
right.
electronics and computer driven machinery.
Yeah,
And that is the best time to actually start picking up a talent in something because you don't have to relearn the same stuff a second time.
right.
And a lot of the old timers that could come up to a machine and tell if it's running correctly just by the listening to it would basically they had a lot of converting over to the electronic side. It wasn't easy for a lot of people. I know in the automotive industry, what my background is in, it was really when computers started running cars, you had a lot of shops that just wouldn't deal with it, and those shops went away because everything went computer. And that
Yeah,
gave you a really good basis for what you're doing now is what I'm getting at.
yeah. It was totally nothing but problem solving. I mean, the machines that we had. This is before internet and everything came Wi-Fi and all that. I was loading all the software and all this the CAD files, G code basically. They run off G code, running, loading them on zip files or zip drives, floppy drives and zip drives. So it was just nuts. I had a stack of floppy drives, right? And if I didn't number those things and they fell, yeah, dude, it was nuts. It just, even though I am young, I have been exposed to electronics since at an early age. Basically, when DOS was the main operating system, so I've been exposed to computers for such a long time. I just, it was revolutionary for when I don't know. I think I was 8 years old working, just after school. So right after school, I go work for my uncle. Every day after school, I'm out there. Summer school was basically my shop. I mean, it was definitely child labor. It was
I
Asian
think
child labor sweatshop.
yes,
But
that's hilarious, brother,
yeah,
because yeah, I think everyone, like I know AR did the same thing as me. We all got started young, working after school and going and helping our fathers and family on jobs and stuff, just getting our foot started and actually earning a little bit of money. Um,
right.
so that just basically sets you up perfect for what you're doing now.
Yeah,
All those
yeah,
years on machine shop, you really uh, the best way I can say it is if you got all those years experience working on machines that cut metal, and that gives you already an advantage over the guy that just learned how to run a machine and stuff like that because you've got years of knowledge and experience running these machines way before you ever thought about putting a barrel on an action.
right. Yeah, and like I said, everything was problem solving. We could only do so much, and we always had to figure out how to hold it apart and everything. So learning the speeds and feeds of material, tool deflection, certain drill bits, how to accomplish that radius or pocket or whatever it is, you start becoming your own engineer and figuring out, okay, if I can make a wedge here or a tool here, on this X and Y vise, I can hold it up on linears or whatever it is, parallels a certain way, and figure out how to get that angle. So it was crazy learning all of that and going to school. Not just being Asian, but math really came simple to me because of all the problem solving of doing all the geometry and crap and learning how to figure out basically trigonometry at radius is everything in metric, how to calculate all of that. It just became kind of natural. It was basically something where unfortunately it became annoying and just really kind of lost my motivation because it was just an everyday thing where it was work. It became work, and the only way for our family to survive was to make sure this machine shop's going and hitting deadlines. So working since 5 years old, you know, I got out of it right when I was 16. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing freaking machinery ever again. But came back.
Yeah, well, sometimes in life, they hand us different things, and sometimes when you open a door or close a door, a window will open, kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's always good to have a really good base about yourself, in a couple of different areas in case you later date you decide that maybe that's not what you want to do anymore. You still have that fundamental base in machinery, and so that got you onto how you're turning rifles and stuff like that, barrels, and building these custom rifles. And now you're doing it for quite a few people and quite a few shops that are in your area. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm working with all the FFLs around here. High Desert Heat is one of my main ones where they'll take in a rifle like that Ruger American rifle, which I did that video, and part 2 is coming out pretty soon. So, and they give me an opportunity to say, hey man, here's lately a lot of lever guns, a lot of old Winchester lever guns. So, I need this thing threaded. Oh, I need this thing fixed. Elevators jacked up. So getting into the gunsmithing side of things, I started getting a lot of experience with a lot of older firearms, newer firearms, and seeing how things were made, and seeing the flaws of certain manufacturers. So working with a lot of FFLs here, like I said, all of them out here, they all reach out to me for certain things. I try to stay away from all the gunsmithing stuff because honestly, all the little knickknacks, unfortunately, you don't make a lot of money and it's very time consuming. But I'll pick up where I feel like I could excel on my skill trait. For instance, I had a model 626-2 that needed a rebarrel. The guy had that revolver go through a fire, so we sourced out a barrel, and I'm like, okay, well, let me invest in $280 worth of parts and jigs for an action jig and all that stuff, and rebarreled my first revolver a couple months ago. And that was very rewarding because it was very intimidating at the same time, being a -2 626 Smith & Wesson, very collectible item, very sentimental value. But I had guidance, so it's not like I dove into spinning up barrels and doing all this by myself. I've hung out with a lot of the older heads here. There's a couple guys that just retired and basically have mentored me through the lathe process and certain tools and aspects of the gunsmithing. And I'm learning every day hanging out with these folks. There's the Lake Havasu Sportsman Rifle Club and Pistol Shooters. I hang out with them. They have a 600-yard range. They do nothing but bench rest, F-class bench rest, PPC style stuff, 22 railgun, you name it. It's the most accurate rifles. And these guys are all machinists by trade. Some of them are ex-Navy. They program sonar. Some of them are ballisticians for the military. It's nuts how much education they had. Of course, walking in there, they're like, what does this young buck want to do with us? So I got my hand slapped around, and you just stay humble. And they're like, oh man, this guy actually wants to learn. So you start picking up people's they want to share. The majority of the folks out here want to share. So I sit there with my box of crayons and just writing down everything they're willing to share. So learning a lot of that 22 long rifle stuff, I started finally making RimX actions based off 22 bench rests and rail guns. And we're talking about these guys are throwing their $5,000 800-hour railgun on the ground if they shoot a .2. These guys are that mad when they shoot a .2 at 100 yards with a 22. So that's the kind of accuracy they're getting.
Jesus, that's like, for a rifle shooter, you're just like, after working up loads and you get a .4 or a .5. Yeah. And you're like, that's the best I've seen in a long time. You come out and you see a .2 and you're just like, and they're mad, then they're disappointed. And you're like,
they are pissed. That is a bad day for them on a Sunday. When those guys shoot anything in the .2, they're all within the hundreds. Obviously, they want to be sub 100 if they can. The club record so far is a .68 or .068, so 680 thousandths, or no, it's not 600. 68 thousandths of a group size, 5-shot group, 22. So it's It's a very interesting sport. I do want to take out my cameras, but out of respect, that's something they refuse for me to do. They kind of want to be off camera. I think a lot of it because they have very high backgrounds. But when you walk out there, you see everybody's lawn art. When I'm talking about lawn art, you got flamingos with little whirlybirds in the back of it, and all this other stuff, just so they can read wind. It's a crazy sport. It's like within every 5 feet, you see like this lawn art sitting there reading wind. I'm like, that is nuts, dude. And they spend hours setting that up.
Yeah, that's hilarious, Kenny. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, the bottom line here that I'm asking is it's Desert Precision Rifle Works, right?
It's Desert Precision Gunworks, and our website
Gunworks.
Yeah, it's a DP Gunworks so an acronym for Desert Precision is just a short acronym Delta Papa DP, then Gunworks as it's spelled GUNWORKS.com, and there's a contact section there. So yeah, if you have any questions, that's what I'm here for. I am young, I am still learning, but whatever I'm learning, I have no problem sharing. Reloading aspects of things. If you need advice of what rifle to buy for certain things, that's my primarily goal, is to basically sit down with clientele and give my experience with the rifles I have played with to suit their needs. And my first question I always ask these guys is like, oh, I need to build a 6.5 PRC. Okay, well, what's your reason for having that caliber? Well, like, oh, I just, everybody has it, and it's a really accurate shoot around. Then my next question will be, well, what's your main purpose for it? And they're like, well, I only shoot the 400 yards. I'm like, then all you need is a freaking 22 long rifle, to be honest, if you're going to shoot only 400. Yeah. So, and I don't mean to be mean. I'm always straightforward. I'm like, look, you're looking at a cartridge that you could barely find ammunition for right now. Reloading supplies would be the next question. Do you reload? Yes or no? Majority of the folks are, I'm just getting into reloading. So the answer to that is no, you don't reload. So you don't have any reloading supplies with 6.5 PRC. So I kind of tend to give my experience like, okay, it's a great cartridge, but if you're not a hand loader, you're not going to take advantage of the velocities. If you ain't shooting over 1,000 yards, then there's no point to having a 6.5 PRC. If you're looking at the hunting aspect of it, there is a lot of different cartridges that I could name off the top of my head. 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC would be a better choice. 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, all of those are more available on the shelf. So I try to kind of aim, to kind of give light of aspects of certain things to kind of fit that person. Now, I do get folks that are definitely, they know what they're looking for. They're competitors. They'll call in and say, hey, man, I need a 6mm Creedmoor, or I need a 6 GT. I need this barrel, and yada, 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 this twist rate. So I listen to them, and I'm like, okay, you're going with a 1-7 twist, 6 GT, and I can give my experience. All right, last year I built over like 60 rifles in 6 GT. The main concern of that cartridge is brass life. I said, what kind of brass are you using? Are you using Hornady, or are you using GA Precision or Alpha Munitions? They're like, well, it's nothing but Hornady. I'm like, okay, from experience, from the 60 rifles I've made, expect brass life to be 2 to 3 firings. And it's a shocker. They're like, well, I haven't heard of that. No one talks about that. I'm like, I'm just giving you my experience. I just know from this cartridge, from my hand loading, with a very light load, I still get about 3 to 4 firings. If you switch over to Alpha Munitions, then you can get more. So the little things like that, that's what I feel like I'm blessed with, is being able to just have experience behind all of these high-end rifles and calibers and share that with other people.
Yeah, because experience is the key to it, and you can't duplicate it. You can't buy experience. You can buy nicer equipment, you can buy nicer tool and dies, but you can't buy experience. Now, so basically, Desert Precision Gunworks, and I've got that going across .com, and that is that's your website, correct?
It's a DP, so DP Gunworks.
DP Gunworks. It's not, so you can't find you under Desert Precision Gunworks then?
No, so if you type Desert Precision Gunworks, it will pop up on Google on my website, though. I have that set up. It took a while to get that one going.
Yeah, it's almost like a, what do they call that? They
call it SEQ. I forgot what that stands for, but it's basically a search engine something. I forget what the Q stands for. But yeah, it's been a fun journey the last 3 years. Really getting into building a lot of custom rifles, getting hands on with very high end gear, anything from board in actions. I played with rebarreling F class rifles, really high end F class rifles, to basically building a Savage 10. So just seeing what certain actions are like. If you were to spend $6,000, like it's crazy what you could get into as far as actions and all that. But not following the trend, you could build something that's very similar to that performance for a few $1,000s less here and there. It just all depends on what you want to basically achieve. So as you guys know, I have nothing but a Savage 10 is what I've ran for years. And just recently, in the last week, I finally built my own custom rifle, but it is for sale. And my friends are like, why the hell are you selling it? They're like, you just built yourself a custom rifle that's shooting a 1.5-inch group at 1,000 yards. Well, 975. Why would you ever sell it? I'm like, it's all about repeatability. I have no problem being confident that I could reduplicate that rifle again. Yeah, I could definitely, and that's my whole thing. I could build a rifle and know that, okay, this part here, if I do this, I do this, I do this, I buy this part, it will produce this kind of group and this kind of accuracy. So it's all about repeatability, and it just shows that, hey, man, for one, I like to see somebody enjoy that rifle, not just me. And I know, too, I could definitely make another rifle just like that. So.
Yeah, and let's see here. So basically, if you can build a rifle and make it shoot good, that's one job. But if you can do it over multiple rifles, then you're actually, you're hitting marks that you want to be at for quality control. So consistent buildings, consistent results from the firearms. Right. Let me ask you this: what is one of your favorite calibers?
Well, definitely that 6 ARC, and the reason why I say that is it's very easy to reload. For the competitive, so I just got into competition shooting for PRS and NRL 22 and NRL X and all of that. The 6 ARC is a caliber that anybody could get into. The brass is easy to find. Most major online retailers sell the ammunition. Like right now, I can buy 105 Hornady Black, 103 Precision Hunters in stock. It's based off the 220 Russian case, 6.5 Grendel brass. It's just something that caliber suits everything I needed to do. The fact that it's also a ball powder, I can load it on a progressive press and be behind a reloading bench, reloading press less than 30 minutes and have 100 rounds ready to go. That benefits me practicing downrange. And the argument of, well, why are you choosing 6 ARC over, like, say, for instance, 6mm Creedmoor or 6 GT or 6 Dash or VR? Well, that versus thing, or all that dies when you talk about the 6 ARC has over 5,000 rounds of capability on a barrel. The 6 ARC could do 2,940 feet a second, which is knocking on the door on a 6 GT. That's where the argument dies. So I choose that caliber a lot just because for what I got into, it's easy to get into and perform for what I'm doing. 308, that would be my next caliber choice. I love the 308 rifle, 308 cartridge. It's a challenge to me. It's like playing golf with subpar equipment.
Yeah.
So if you can make a birdie shot and with equipment like a Savage, a sub $600 rifle with the 308, I mean, it just tells you that cartridge is very capable. With today's modern technology and bullets and powder, I don't see why the 308 is shunned, and the 6.5 Creedmoor is that much better. When in fact most people that shoot 6.5 Creedmoor or 308, the 6.5 Creedmoor won't take advantage of what a 308 can do unless they're shooting past 1,000 yards. If you set up the 308 hand load correctly. So.
Yes. And you push a heavy enough bullet and you're able to create enough velocity. That the velocity is really what the 308 lacks in, as far as when you start looking at some of these other cartridges. And if you, and here's the thing that I found out about 308. If you can load 308 and shoot it halfway decent, that some of these other cartridges with these extremely high BCs, those will be much easier. So I was always taught, if you can shoot 308 well, you can shoot anything well. And basically, and things haven't changed much in 35 years. 308 is a very capable cartridge, especially at 800 to 1,000 yards. You start to see where the weight of the bullets and the diameter of the 30 caliber cartridge is capable of doing a lot more than some of these lighter weight cartridges are when it comes to bucking wind. But yeah, that's awesome. So you're an ARC guy. Now, what about the ARC and ARs?
Yeah, that's been a struggle for the last year. And off camera, I've tested over 23 barrels in ARs, anything manufacturer wise. I've tested over 23 barrels, multiple Faxon barrels, toolbox barrel, proof research, you name it. I bought them when they first came out, and it was a definite struggle to get that thing to shoot a consistent, at least sub MOA. And you know, folks probably consider me as okay. I'm critical. You definitely need a half-inch shooter. No, honestly, I think I've proven the point that all you need is a sub MOA rifle to be capable of shooting out to 1,000 yards. I mean, I can make a shot that way with anything shooting a .9 at least. Yeah. But that was the problem with the AR and the 6 ARC. What I have found, because I was testing this with Coda Boy, I was testing this with Ray from the X-Ring, and a few of them are friends around here. We found that cartridge is definitely capable of sub-minute of accuracy with barrels that are only 16 to 18 inches long. There was a couple 20-inch barrels I've shot, but when I talk about accuracy, people are like, okay, I got 3-shot groups of doing this. Well, no, we want to see 5-shot groups, and we want to be able to say, I could go out there right now and put a 5-shot group that's sub MOA. And that's one thing that thing was doing. Basically, it would shoot a half-minute group one day. You go out there a couple hours later, it puts out a 1.1-inch group. Well, that's not repeatable. It's just something that caliber is doing that the 6 ARC does not like in the AR. So the 16, 18-inch barrels definitely worked, but the velocities were low. They're like 25, 80, like especially out here in the west side, your velocities be a little bit higher. So I was hitting 2,600 feet a second. But you do the ballistics and the math on that, that is anything better than a 6.5 Grendel. So why struggle, first of all, with this cartridge and the AR when you could just go get yourself a 6.5 Grendel and be just as good? So that was my concern. But I didn't want to accept a failure on this cartridge on the AR, so I continue doing more research, doing more testing, ordered more reamers. I got a reamer that had zero throat at all, so I was setting my own depth on the free bore. Started playing around with different free bore lengths, lengthening them, increasing them, and ended up with a certain free bore which will make the Hornady Black 105 shoot at least a .7, consistently. So that was a big struggle. So I finally got the 6 ARC in a 22-inch barrel to a 26.5-inch barrel to shoot a consistent 3/4 MOA with factory ammo. As far as the hand loads, you guys seen it on my channel. If you guys follow it, I've gotten down to a .5. It averages around a .6. And for an AR, that's pretty good group.
That's excellent grouping for an AR.
Yeah. So the advantage of that in the AR platform is basically the wind calls, your wind capability. So the 6 ARC it's a wind bucker. You can do a bad wind call. For instance, you got a 4-inch plate at, let's say, 537 yards, and this is common on most accurized AR matches. You'll have just an MOA target out there. If you hold just left the plate, more than likely you'll hit it, even with the bad wind call. If it was a 223 and you have a 10-mile-per-hour crosswind and you're off, you're going to be off the berm.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that was the advantage. So that's why I said the 6 ARC and the AR, 6 ARC and a bolt gun, they're a whole different animal for competition. That's why we're running that coming up in competition dynamics. Me and Ray are running that in October. So I'm running the bolt gun in 6 ARC. He's running the gasser in 6 ARC.
Awesome. I've seen some stuff where guys, I've been watching a couple other channels, and it seems there's something with the 24, I think the 22 or 24-inch barrel with the arc on an AR. Something
Yeah.
about it, about that barrel length's harmonics seem to stabilize that bullet very well. And I've seen considerable accuracy nodes with those specific length barrels. And
Right.
it's like one of those things where I don't know why it does it. It just does it. And it seems like, yeah, you're not the first person that's told me that. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, some cartridges are like that. They have their barrel lengths that they tend to I don't know if
To like the
stabilize
favor,
is,
right?
but
Yeah.
they just seems to dial the bullet groups right in. The harmonics is there for that particular, and it may only be with one bullet weight. I've seen them where they'll shoot 105s, great, and then you drop a 90 in there, and you're opening back up. You're like, well, what's going on? Why won't it shoot 90s as well as 105s? And
Yeah, it's been a definite struggle. This cartridge specifically, which is funny now that it's standardized from Hornady. I've actually played around with what they consider the Wildcat was a 243 LBC, and there's a lot of 6 millimeter variants. 6 millimeter AR is another one that I've played around with, and they are coherently accurate out of an AR-15 with a 90 grain burger. All day long, those guys are putting out sub half inch groups. Why is it that all of a sudden Hornady grabs this cartridge and they changed a few things. They made the neck longer, made the free bore longer, and it just, for some reason, on the AR, it sucks. It just doesn't work. But I could definitely get a 90 grain projectile. It's not as accurate as like a 6 AR or 243 LBC to shoot out of the AR. I was like, okay, thinking to myself, what is the issue? Well, they lengthen the free bore like 115 thousandths. And they're claiming 90 thousandths of free bore. And what they don't tell you is that on the tip of the cartridge, when they cut the chamber, they accommodate another 15 thousandths, 15 to 20 thousandths for your trim length, because they don't want a bore obstruction. So when this chamber's up, and if someone forgets to trim their brass, well, they got 15 thousandths more extra on that neck area to keep that from being a bore obstruction and potentially a catastrophic failure. So that's 15 thousandths of measurement on top of 90 thousandths. So that's where the free bore measurement came around. I'm like, that's too much. That's too much free bore. Well, I know there's people like Johnny's Reloading Bench that have gotten this the barrel, and they shoved in factory ammo, and it ended up finding out that it was hitting the lands. Well, initially the first lot of ammo, and he explained this, they had inconsistent case overall length. They were pushing like 2.28, 2.26 on some of the bullets, and it's a very ogivy bullet. So that cartridge technically wanted to be, it's supposed to be 2.20. So the next lot of ammo came out was 2.220 to 2.230. Still didn't perform, and their claimings of velocity of 2,750 feet a second were nowhere near those velocities with a 16 or 18-inch barrel, and to this day still aren't that velocity. So their new lot of ammo, which is funny because they didn't tell anybody, but they added another grain of powder, and their new lot of ammo is having pressure signs just firing it. I don't know if you can see that.
Here, let me blow you up. What are you getting?
Right.
Ejector marks on it? And wrong
Yep.
person. Hold on.
And this is out of a bolt gun. So this is one firing from Hornady, right? Well, they upped it, and Hornady, they're being kind of secretive and stuff. They're trying to say that they're trying to keep this within 55,000 psi, but shot this out of a bolt gun, and I'm getting an ejector swipe.
Yeah, that's above 55. You're pushing 62, 63,000 right there, because when you start getting that, and you start seeing swipes on there from where it just the cratering from firing pins and stuff like that, you're like,
there's another one. Yeah, I could get all this ammo.
That bullet is starting to crawl back into the openings on the breech face. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, the primers are not flat because he switched over to military primers, but I am definitely getting ejector swipe. Out of an AR, it's even worse. I've actually had a couple of them that had bent rims. So that was just the funny part. Cause that was one thing I noticed. I shot my old lot of 105 black ammo, had the dope down, and then all of a sudden I switched over to the new box of ammo, and I'm like way over the target. I'm like, what the hell? How am I 2 mils over the target? Let me throw a chronograph on it. So I went from 2680 FPS, put the chronograph on, and all of a sudden I'm 2840. I'm like, holy crap, dude! I jumped up 200 FPS. How in the hell? So I go back home and I throw it to my bullet puller. I'm like, dude, you got another grain of powder in here. So it's
yeah, they're still Hornady basically still developing the cartridge as they go.
Yeah,
and I've seen this, and this is the thing that when new cartridges get released, usually
we're the guinea pigs.
Yeah, but the way it was done in the past was wildcatting would lead to a cartridge, and it would basically be developed over years sometimes of guys loading it, making it in the field and working the kinks out. And now it seems like a lot of this is dreamt up on a AutoCAD board, and they go, well, if we do this, this makes sense, and this makes sense to ballisticians, but is sometimes when you transfer that over from a platform like the AR-15 that is aggressive loader, it's very aggressive when it cycles. You're talking a bolt carrier group moving at 40 feet per second.
Right.
That's pretty fast for when you talk about cycling ammunition in and out of a spring-fed magazine. When basically you start stressing the ammunition like that, you're more susceptible to setback and jump. And when you start getting setback or jump from shot to shot, your consistency varies, and then you start getting accuracy just going into the toilet all of a sudden. And that I've seen that from cartridges in the past. But nowadays it seems like these guys are developing these cartridges kind of off of, like you were saying, the 6.5 parent case, which is a 440 head size diameter for the AR-15. And I think they were just trying to get a little bit better accuracy than they could get with the 6.5 Grendel. But in turn, it looks like that cartridge does best in a bolt gun, but you can get it to shoot good if you play by its rules. Barrel length is probably one of them. You know, what type of rifling are you guys using? Have you tried some different rifling to see if it?
Yeah. So in the bolt gun, with I've made so many of these rifles now in the bolt gun. The best twist rate, and I think this is an issue with AR. The best twist rate is a 1 in 7.7 twist with a 3R rifling. So I don't know what it is, but every single rifle that I have produced in a 1 in a 7.7 twist in that rifling has has surpassed in accuracy over the other ones. And we're talking, it's shooting a 0.3 with the other rifles, and this thing is dropping down to in the ones. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, this is nuts. And this is me not even being completely adamant and anal with my reloads. I'm literally being really sloppy with the reloads, and it's still putting out a 0.18. I'm like, that's nuts. It's proven that the 220 Russian case, and this is why bench rest shooters use a 6 PPC case. They're known for accuracy. So in the Wildcat world, when guys started looking into that and dropping into the ARs because of the overall length, the 243 LBC 6mm ARs, they were dominant in the Wildcat world. Everybody raved and talked about it, shooting a flat base bullet, and it wasn't uncommon seeing an AR shoot a sub 0.2 inch group.
Yeah.
But nowadays, when he came out with a 6 arc, it's like, what the hell? And from my testing, it's completely very tight noded. So a very tight node. There's no plateau of seating depth or powder charge. No, it's got to be this. Anything other than that, you're going to open up that group. So that's just been my experience.
Yeah. So the cartridge is just something that you have to hit that specific powder and that specific free bore jump. And if you are off on either by a slight amount, your group just goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
So that just means that to shoot that cartridge accurately, you're going to have to be an extremely good hand loader. And be very consistent.
Right. And that's why I aim my barrels and research off camera to kind of focus more on the factory ammo. Because, Hornady has access to powder that we will never be able to get to. Their combination on the Hornady Black, and this is why it led to me, that is all of my bolt guns will shoot Hornady Black sub half inch chambered in 6 arc. So whatever they're doing on that cartridge in that lot of ammo, it's got to work for an AR. So playing around with the free bore, I finally settled to that certain free bore distance, and there it was. It all came together. Now the hand loads, they struggle. They'll hold it, but then you'll get an occasional one flyer out of nowhere. You're like, what the hell? And this throws a whole group off. The Hornady Black is consistently a 0.7, and that's why me and Ray were like, nah, screw it. We're just going to run the Hornady Black. And when we're done with this competition, we'll look into the hand loading aspect of it and see if we can reduplicate that load with that 105, both the hollow point that they have. But for now, I'm experimenting, which is funny because Idaho is on here. He's going to hate me because there's a Wildcat, which is based off the 6mm Creedmoor or 6mm arc. It's called a 22 Grendel, and that will spank the hell out of a 224 Valkyrie. And to give perspective, I could push a 90 grain A-tip at 3,000 feet a second with an 18-inch barrel. So that's something I'm going to show on my channel. I don't know if it's a barrel burner. I usually can tell by feeling the barrel after 10 shots. If I can't hold the barrel, then it's definitely a barrel burner. This one, I'm able to hold the barrel. So it's like, I'd say it's hotter than a 6mm arc. Barrel life won't be as much, but it's definitely going to be a hell of a lot more than a 224 Valkyrie.
Oh yeah, a Valkyrie burn up barrels like a 240.
Yeah.
You take 4 shots out of a 240, and you will have a line in your hands where the barrel burnt you, because those guns, my buddy, he loves the 240, and it's a good cartridge, but it burns barrels up quick. I mean, I think 1,500 rounds on a 240 barrel is about what you can get, 1,500 to 1,700 rounds.
Yeah.
That's some of them burn barrels, and you were saying, and other ones, like we were talking, the 308 Winchester, you can literally shoot that barrel your whole life, and literally it's a lifetime barrel.
Right.
Unless you're shooting competition where you're actually pushing the max pressure and you're shooting, thousands of rounds, usually don't burn out a 308 barrel.
Right. Yeah. A lot of folks, they chase a velocity. I'm one too. I'll be chasing a velocity, but the fact is that I'm pushing that cartridge. That cartridge's ability to shoot past a certain distance. Like, the 6 arc is, I would say, a sub 1,500 yard cartridge, an accurate sub 1,500 yard cartridge. Anything past that, it really struggles. However, I do push it at a mile on occasion. That's capable of doing it. A 224 Valkyrie, well, you keep considering that thing of being a 1,000-yard cartridge. I've had one. I played around with one in an AR, and yeah, it'll do 1,000 yards, but give it a good 10-mile-per-hour crosswind, full value wind down at 1,000 yards to see what it does. It won't hold up. So.
And didn't the Valkyrie have its own troubles with was it the primer pockets on the Valkyrie, or was that the
Well, that was the brass life I had. The primer pockets got loose on me, and this was a while back, so maybe things have improved.
Changed,
yeah. The accuracy was another issue. It was hard for me to get an accurate load. Once you found one, that was it. Like there's not really much changing it. Plus or minus 0.2 of a grain, it'll open it up. So it's a very capable round. I played around with the UPR, Desert Precision bolt action upper, as haven't showed on my channel. In that caliber, definitely performed well. Just in the AR, it was a struggle, and this was with a Shaw barrel. So I had a shaw barrel made for this thing, so it wasn't a cheap barrel. But I just said, all right, well, I'm kind of going to put the ARs aside because I got into the more of the precision side of things, and the ARs have limitations, and I said, I kind of, it's not doing what I wanted to do. I want to be able to shoot golf balls at 600 yards. I can't really do that with an AR. You can, but it's going to be hard, a lot harder than a bolt gun.
Yeah, to get that kind of accuracy out of a gun that was never intended to deliver that type of accuracy is asking a lot.
Yeah,
you got to remember that the M16 originally was built with a 20-inch barrel. 1 in 14 rifling was on it, and it was able to shoot 3 minutes of angle at 100 yards at 3-inch grip. And and that varied from soldier to soldier. Some people could shoot, that rifle, you could get it to shoot, a 2-inch group, something like that. But that rifling was designed for high speed, light bullet.
right.
And it was all boiled back down to men being able to carry more ammunition into the battlefield. What we're doing here is we're taking something that was born out of necessity combat fighting weapon platform and turning it into a precision rifle. And sometimes certain cartridges they develop don't do as well in that platform as they do in a bolt platform or even another type of semi-automatic rifle. And that's just because the way they're designed. And so, Kenny, where do you see yourself in another 5 years with your business?
Well, I just, I don't know. I'm just kind of along for the ride. I just, my main thing is just to keep building rifles for folks, and I get enjoyment seeing how happy they are. For one, I guess the benefit for me is I get to shoot the rifle first. So
yeah,
I go out there all the time. Me and my son are out there playing around, and that's kind of a reason why I started getting into suppressors, because here I am thinking to myself, well, me and my son are out there every day burning primers and burning powder, 20 shots at minimum. It's got to take a toll on your hearing. So I said, all right, let me start getting some suppressors. But 5 years, I don't know. I really want to build my house and get my machine that my dad left behind. I have a CNC waiting for me. I'm stuck with just basically a typical lathe. I'm making it work, but when I get machinery that I'm able to get a hold of from my VF6 I have sitting there, I do want to start making my own actions. So that way I'm not relying on ordering actions and having to wait for that. That way I could continue my production and actually increase production. And the biggest thing is just I'm teaching my son a skill trait. That's something these young kids nowadays just have nothing of. So my son's in here with me all the time. He's out there shooting. He knows how to reload. He knows how to change the oil. He can operate the lathe at certain things. I still watch him, but eventually he'll pick up that side of things and learn a skill trait and be able to grow upon that. So hopefully he sticks around with me. And I don't force him like my uncles did to me. I kind of just want to have him just come over. Hey, Dad, let me turn this, or let me do this for my go-kart or something, and I let him do it. So,
yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that, because that's one of the reasons why I like to follow you. And anybody in the audience, Kenny's website's going across the screen right now. DP Gun. I can't even read it. Is it Gunworks? Yeah, DP Gunworks, because I'm blind and stupid. And basically, the cool thing about I'm watching Kenny is he and his boy. He's got his boy into pulling the trigger on some rifles, and he's got the bug. And that's what I like to see, is young people taking interest in what their father, or even if what their mother's doing. I know of a couple of moms that own gun shops, and to get kids actually interested in the same business that you are in as a parent is very hard nowadays. That old thing where your dad was a worked in construction, so you're going to work in construction. It's kind of gone by the wayside, and with that, a lot of knowledge. Knowledge used to be passed from generation to generation, from fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, teaching the younger generation how to do what they've been doing for the last 20 years, 25, sometimes 30 years of their life. And that knowledge is priceless, because that's wisdom that you have earned over years. Like I was saying before, you can buy a $12,000 CNC machine or a $100,000 CNC machine. You can't buy 25 years worth of experience.
Yeah, exactly that. I was going to say, because you know, I operated before I even got into the CNCs. For one thing, my uncle was always leery, because that was his bread and butter. You know, $120,000 CNC machine on lease, and you know, I learned to operate all these subpar machines, manual grinders and manual mills and all that stuff, and learning how to precision grind things, and still get the same accuracy and precision than what that CNC can produce. Obviously, a lot slower. So, you know, judging one's ability with just the tools we have, and that goes with firearms and all that. That's a common mistake I see all the time. I see a lot of folks with these really high-end rifles, yet again, can barely hold a hat or barely hold an MOA group just with positional shooting. So it's kind of crazy. So I think it's always good to be humble and start with what you have and master it, and let it show you where the wall is. Let it show you, okay, for me to get better, this is what I need to have. Like, you know, I still don't have a $2,000 scope. You know, my best scope is that Burris Optics XTR3, and actually I won that from the competition. But here I am with $200 optics, still shooting a mile. It just goes to show that it just gets you the best thing you could really, I guess, invest in is your time and effort of practicing downrange. And what has helped me out the most is being able to film all of that, seeing my flaws. Okay, I'm slapping the trigger or doing what I can. The community is another huge thing from YouTube, and this is why it really upsets me when I see people on YouTube just being pissed off at each other, and the stupid negative comments. It's like, look, dude, we're on your side. You know, we have enough to fight about in a two-way community. Why are you being a keyboard warrior? It's like, dude, I'm young, and how many people do you see my age doing what I'm doing and sharing the information? It's
like no one. It's like no one. And that's another thing that is very important. That knowledge that is shared through wisdom that people have gained over the years through their works in different things. You could be a knitter or a stained glass maker. It doesn't matter. If you've been doing that for 25 years, you know how to do it. And it's important to pass that knowledge along. And that's the great thing about YouTube and these social media sites that let you stream like this. And you get to meet people and hear about how they're developing certain skills that they've grown up with. And basically, they get to share it. Where before, you might be able, like Kenny might be able to share with his young son, you know, this is what we're doing. And over the next 15, 20 years, bring his skill level up to the point where, where the skill level is so high that he's absorbed the knowledge that his dad has taught him. Plus, he's developing his own wisdom level, and it's just like having three gunsmiths in a room. You got three guys with 20 years worth of experience. You got, you know, what is that, 20, 60, 80 years of turning wrenches on guns. Chances are, if you have a question, that's probably a good place to start is from one of these guys that have been doing this for a while. And that's where I see a lot of people looking up on the internet, seeing what other people are doing. And a lot of times they'll go out and some of these guys I see at the gun ranges, they'll spend $10,000, $15,000 on equipment, and they'll be out there and they can't they can't do what I can do with a $300 rifle and a $50 scope that came with it for free. You know, because I'm just like, hey man, you can't buy yourself talent. I mean, like you can, and that's what you're talking about, hitting the wall. And I know what you're talking about is use something stock, shoot it, modify it some more, keep shooting it. And instead of spending $10,000 on the baddest rifle you can get a $500 rifle and scope combo and invest some money in learning how to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like put some bullets downrange and get somebody to show you how to shoot and hold the rifle correctly. You wouldn't believe how many guys I see at the range that just, I'm like, that's not even how you're supposed to be holding the rifle. You walk by them and you're like, you're never going to hit the broadside of a barn shooting like that. And you see their targets and they're shooting at 50 yards and with a 16-inch barreled AR, and they're hitting it from the top of a 24-inch target to the bottom, just all the way up and down. I'm like, well, you know, if you probably spent a quarter of the money you spent on that rifle on some lessons and some ammunition, you probably could have bought something that was a heck of a lot cheaper and done a hell of a lot better on accuracy. And I see it all the time. And, you know, it's basic.
There's a huge ego thing, especially here on YouTube. And that's the thing, you know, you watch these channels and like, man, these guys have these expensive ass firearms and they're all bragging about hitting 1,000 yards. And you look at it closely, well, shoot, man, a 36-inch by 36-inch plate, 1,000 yards, if you're talking about MOA accuracy, that's 10 inches, 10, 11 inches basically a plate. And this guy has a 36-inch plate saying this is what you need to buy, this is what you need to do for accuracy. You know, that's not portraying correctly. You know, like you're saying, there's a lot of ego involved, and if you have what you have and you actually let people learn or teach you, for those who are willing to teach, you can learn basic marksman fundamentals with very subpar equipment. In fact, you think about the stuff we have today, the rifles that are being produced off the assembly line. 1,000 yards was not even heard of doing, but back in the early 90s. You know, 1,000 yards was like a remarkable shot, and it took the highest end equipment. And a $340 rifle, a $400 rifle does that all day long nowadays. So it's like, okay, well, if a $400 rifle is capable of doing 1,000 yards, why is it do you need to spend $6,000 on glass and stock and action and all that? You could definitely do it, and there always is that buy once, cry once. And from experience, it's with certain things. It's taken a lot to get to the point where I'm at now with the better equipment that I have. However, I had to take it in baby steps. And yeah, I have made a lot of bad purchases and reloading equipment and all that too. I wish someone would have told me, hey, don't buy this or don't buy that. But this is why I like to share on YouTube, because I can share my experience. It may help somebody. But as far as the rifles, the Savage 10 does it all day long. Dude, you could go out there with Remington 700. There's certain things you can look at. You could take your father's Remington 700 and say, hey, man, I can make this thing more accurate. Well, you know, let me look online what I could do. Well, that's what I want to show. You could go to Crown Ridge Barrels, Anthony Ward, and he'll spin you up a barrel, a pre-fit barrel for less than $400 within a week. Send it over to you. You get a barrel. Okay, now you take your action off your rifle. You got a barrel waiting to go on there. Well, I've learned from watching this video that I want to be able to look at the bolt contact to the recess face of that bolt. Well, shoot, I only got 50% contact. Well, I learned this trick from this video saying, hey, if I get lapping compound, I can lap that bolt in. And sure enough, that really fixed a lot of accuracy. Those little things that this is what should be shared in the community, instead of saying, hey, you need to buy this $5,000 rifle. When if you're a DIYer, or will understand that, hey, this is why this rifle shoots this way because of these certain things, and share that and pass that along. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I've seen bolts. I remember when, you know, I basically grew up and was around guns my whole life. And I've had a couple of friends, my dad's friends in the past, owned gun shops for years. Few of them, their family still owns them. And I remember the machines. It was a metal top, and you would put the bolt down into the top of it with lapping compound on the bottom of it, and you would had a bolt indexing face that would hold it flat in there, and you would go left and right, and I would see these rifle builders in there polishing bolt lugs and checking the space so that they sit at flush when the bolt's locked into battery. All lugs are contacting equally a flat surface on a 90-degree surface cut. And you wouldn't believe just doing that, what it would do. You know, it would bring a like a 0.8-inch group down to a half-inch with the same load. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the funny part is like, okay, so I mean, people that understand that, a lot of the clientele that build these custom rifles, they have gone through that whole debacle, and they know that, okay, I could definitely do this, but I just don't want to deal with all that labor. So, or there's guys out there that could just afford a custom rifle. I mean, it's nice, yeah, definitely. If you want to and you want to buy a custom rifle and with a reputable rifle manufacturer, do so. But do know that it's going to take you to go out there and shoot and keep shooting to learn those skill traits of marksmanship, how to read the wind. What is that rifle capable of doing? You know, do I hold 2/10 left? Do I hold 2/10 right at 700 yards? All of that's all experience, and that's something like you're saying cannot be bought.
Yeah. And just to jump off case here for a minute, Dead Horse in the audience wants to know a little bit more about your target cams, the Eagle Cam.
Oh, okay.
And basically, I've got one of the original test models over here. Let me grab it.
Right. So, yeah, those target cams, it's a super popular item. I'm trying to keep up on orders and get them out in a timely manner. I'm still relying on parts to come in, and that's why it's taking up to a month. You know, unfortunately, with things that's going on as an excuse, a lot of it's stuck on the trains here, but they're like electronic parts. And the cool thing is that's something that my son's also learning too. He's learning how to solder. Yeah, you have one of the original ones.
Yeah, I've got one of the original test models. That
was the prototype.
Yeah, the beta model.
Yeah, so the board and everything, it's I took my, you know, learning from the railroad, electronics and stuff that I've learned from them, and pretty much design my own PCB board and module. And I do give credit. The biggest reason why these things actually got produced was from West Covina Dodge. Pat, if he gets on these channels once in a while, he's the one that kind of opened the door. He showed me about these ESP32 modules, these modules that are capable of streaming. So I was able to get that early on and learn Arduino and learn how to program and learn all those other things. And then finally ended up developing the own PCB board and being able to implement that module in there and learn about Wi-Fi frequency, antenna gain, RF, and all that crap. It's crazy. So knowing that, I built this target cam, and it's capable of reaching out to 2,400 yards. It's a very small, compact design. You know, easy to set up. All you basically do is put the camera there, turn it on, go to your firing point, turn on the Wi-Fi base station, have the antenna pointed down there, wait a minute, 30 seconds, and then connect to it on your phone. But it has taken me years of T&E with the help of few, including you, to get that up and going. So the biggest jump, and you know, maybe I'll talk about this pretty soon on my channel, is I'm actually getting them finally mass produced, production made, with the quality. Obviously quality is my highest standard. So dealing with this manufacturer, I know for sure I've been a pain in the ass to him, because he sent me a few of these, and I'm like, dude, this is dog shit. You guys are trying to go China on me. I know the parts you're getting are from China. I understand, but do not put China quality on my part. That's all. So
yeah,
so you can get China parts all day long as it's not China quality. I don't give a crap.
Yeah. The assembly process and the manufacturing process has got to be above board. It's just like that's why a lot of people are like, oh, China Schmina, you know, it's junk. And I'm like, well, some of the stuff that they assemble over there is junk, and a lot of it is. But the parts that they sell are parts that we've been buying from China for years and building things over here. Shit.
Yeah.
Harley Davidson uses electronics made in China for their new motorcycles. So, you know, there's that. And if done correctly and used correctly, you can have a solid system using out of the country made parts, especially electronics. And you just got to be able to put them together correctly. You know, it can't be, you got to use good soldering skill practices and just reliable, constant from part to part assembly. And you don't get that when you have 4-year-olds in a factory building stuff. You got to have people.
Yeah. That's unfortunately how it all started. Is I had a necessity for shooting long range, and so I've had somebody send me a couple target cams. I've actually purchased almost every single one in the market besides the long range camera. And when I got these parts, especially, and I'm just going to flat out say it, SME Bullseye, their cameras. If you guys bought one of those, you literally have bought a RV backup camera. That is all that thing is. That is parts that you could go on Amazon right now. You could buy yourself an RV backup camera for $30. Go buy yourself a $10 antenna and have the same exact thing as what they have. Literally, when I got that product, this is what really upset me, and I called them out on it. I got the camera, the battery inside that the ammo box on SME Bullseye. For one, the ammo box that was in there, the Bullseye camera box, is a cheaper ammo box than what you could buy at Harbor Freight. A very flimsy piece of crap, right? So the battery system inside there hit the reset button on the backup camera, which in fact they actually they hot glued it into the ammo box. This is the quality they're selling. It's selling for $600. This system, the hot glued freaking backup camera. So I hit the reset button, and all of a sudden it started talking in Chinese to me. That was cue number one. What the hell? It was speaking in Chinese. I literally hear something talking in Chinese to me. I'm like, dude, that ain't good. Open it up and look at it, and the first thing I see, being electronically orientated and being Asian myself, I'm like, that's a freaking backup camera. So I got the model number. I'm like, first thing I searched is the model number. Amazon popped up, $12. I'm like, you mother, pissed. Instant pissed, because I'm like, I got ripped off. I spent $300 some on a freaking camera system that I could have created myself. So finally, I called them up, and they're like, okay, man, we don't support that no more. We got a new model, yada yada. I'm like, okay, well, let me return it. They're like, well, we'll give you a discount only. They won't even accept it as a return. Yes.
So they know that the quality was so faulty that they were just going to have to take that back and throw it into a pile of garbage for recycling.
So they gave it to Midway USA, and Midway USA put it on clearance. Well, come to find out, it's because they went to a different model and they're no longer supporting that thing. So I said, all right, well, screw it, man. I lost $200 some. Well, what kind of discount you'll give me? Oh, $100 off. Okay, cool, $100 off. That means I can buy one of your new Target cameras for what, $100 right now, right? No, our Target cam is $799. So you're telling me that I spent $300, you guys won't accept the return, and you give me $100 off, and then now I have to fork out another $400 on a new camera system that you guys developed. Yeah, it's instantly bad. So regardless, somebody did send me that new system, which is their current model nowadays, and they did get injection molding done and everything. However, the parts in there are still an RV backup camera, and that's not what they're not telling you that. They're using a bridge-to-bridge Wi-Fi connector, which you can buy on Amazon as well. The whole system, the way it's designed, is really made really cheap, and obviously made it look good with the injection molding and all that. Besides that, that's what motivated me. I was like, screw this. There's got to be a better product. For one, the image quality is subpar, 720p, if that. It's like this sucks, and people are spending $800 on these things. So
the technology we have today, for you not to have at least 1080 is just, I mean, come on. We're not looking at TV sets 27 inches that way
Right.
70 pounds, with picture tubes and glass tubes inside. We're dealing with flat screens now, with high definition screens capable of 4K. We are
Right.
expecting at least HD
Yeah.
quality, out of our camera. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be using these for content creation
Right.
and you
Yeah.
want to be able to use this footage in your videos for YouTube or whatever platform you happen to be on.
Yeah, and it is on my video. So, on my videos, you'll see the target cam on there. A majority of my long range videos that I do, it's whatever you see on that video is exactly what you see on your phone. So come about this whole camera idea. I finally found a module, and there are limitations with today's current technology and price point. With this module, you're able to transmit 2 megabytes a second. Well, that's good enough for a 1080p picture. You're going to have latency because you're transmitting 2 megabytes over X amount of distance. However, it won't cost you freaking $4,000 or $1,000 to do that. And if we're talking about just a target cam, well, who wants to shoot $1,000 target cam? I mean, anything downrange is a potential target. So I'm like, okay, let's hit all stones. For one, I want a cheap target cam that if I do shoot it, well, it didn't cost me arm and a leg. Two, the fact that I make these things, I give the ability for folks that if you do accidentally do shoot it, they give me a call and I'll replace it at cost. My cost for whatever it is to make the target cam, and that's going to be $60. So you're only out $60. It was basically trying to fill a void of getting rid of these high, big name manufacturers that are just ripping us off as a shooter in our community. These manufacturers are just taking advantage of us because majority of us aren't electronically inclined, to know what the hell that is and what are you buying. So I've had lawsuits recently. I'd say that I took their design. Funny part is I had this thing patent pending, so that where they went through the whole thing, that got squashed within one hearing. Judge looked at it and like, get the fuck out of here.
He's like, he's already filed a patent on it, and this guy, that's unfortunate. That
what they were trying to do was basically find the internal workings and what I did to it. And the funny part is like, someone can figure it out if you get my camera, look it up and see how I can
like reverse engineer it.
Yeah, reverse engineer. That's basically what China does. But it's all in the software. They can't duplicate the software. So, and if they do, if someone does come out with a different design, well, I'm already one step ahead. I already have different design coming up, and this is what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to get the manufacturing off my back, where I don't have to sit here. And my son and I are the ones soldering these things together. They're 3D printed, so they're not 100% looking great. But again, it is a disposable camera if you think about it.
Yes.
So I still, now that it's getting professionally manufactured, I'm keeping the price point of what it is, and making sure that I don't go over that $230 mark, and making sure that I still get a little bit of the income. I mean, that's what we're here for, make a little bit of side cash on it.
Yeah.
And then number one, one is providing a solid product that works. So that's basically what this is all about, a very compact device. And it helps me out all the time. When I do load development, I don't shoot just 100 yards. And for folks that are, I would say the older folks, even me, it's hard for me to see those impacts at 100 yards. But I take on load development and I go out to 600 yards. That's ideally where you want to test your loads. You can get a really tight group at 100 yards, but you want to verify that 600 yards. In fact, a very good reloading series, if you guys are interested in the precision side of reloading, it's a Jeff Neary. I forgot the championship shooter. Look up Vitavori powder. Vitavori, they have a YouTube channel. Jack Neary, my bad. Jack Neary. He has a whole reloading series of how to reload precision. And I'm not joking. There is a lot of jam-packed information on that whole reloading series, which talks about spinning a shot, basically what you should look for, how to size your brass, what you're looking at. And we're talking about F-class style of rifles. So it's a whole different level of reloading. And it's shared on Vitavori channel, which surprisingly doesn't have a lot of views. So I don't know.
I tell you what, Kenny, when we get off of here, and AR, remind me to do this. Have Kenny send me a link to that YouTube channel. And I will put it up in the description box for this channel as for this segment, so that people can go over there and check it out, because I know that every reloader out there, whether you're a guy or a girl, is trying to get a little better and trying to make their skills a little bit higher and refine their processes and do things that actually work and aren't just a waste of time. And that is and that's what I like watching a lot of your stuff. You go into enough detail to where you don't swamp a person mentally, and yet you get your point across to where they understand where you're coming from. And that's why I've always watched your channel. I was actually watching you before I met you and Uncle Jim and the whole group, Georgia Shooting Connection, the whole group of people. That's in our small little community here. And basically, I'm very happy. I was actually, just to let the crowd know, when Kenny originally, me and him were talking on the phone one day, and he was like, I can't seem to be able to get a pass to go to SHOT Show. Yeah. And me and him had been talking about it for a while, because he really wanted to have his wife go with him and experience her first SHOT Show and be a not as just like, as, she's just coming with me. She wanted to be the camera crew and actually videotape interviews with Kenny and some of the manufacturers. And so I just told him, I said, dude, it cost you literally less than $100 to get an LLC. And he's like, he goes, you know what? We're going to find out a name right now. What should I call my business? And we were working on it for about 40 minutes, and we came up with Desert Precision, because he's like, and then Kenny's wife was like, well, do you need the desert in there? And me and Kenny are like, yeah, because when you think of the desert, you think of long distant flat surfaces that you have to shoot over. And we were both like, hell yeah. And I was like, yeah. So that was very neat. I'm a big supporter of Kenny and his, because basically he's a small mom and pop shop, and he is doing what all Americans strive to do their own thing, where they can get up every day and think, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. And it's a hobby that turned into a job that makes it not a job anymore. It makes it a way of life. And I just want to thank you for helping our community grow. Now, the other thing I wanted to get into was you are past military, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm past Air Force.
Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you for your service to our beautiful country, and also your service to the gun community. And basically, is there anything that you would like to talk about to wrap this up, as far as anything you would like to cover to make sure?
No, just I really appreciate the kind words. The community is strong with folks that we have. Unfortunately, there's a few negatives out there, but besides all of that, I'd say just know that there's always going to be a better shot than you are, and that's kind of how my mentality is lately. There's always going to be someone that's better in reloading than you. The thing about it is not to be scared to teach and learn. So, all of the reloading aspects of things, there's a lot of things you can get into, be really anal and learning how to do things. The fact is if you don't try it yourself, you won't know what works. You can go ahead and learn. A majority of folks do this. Oh, you got to be bumping your brass doing this. You got to be setting your brass doing that. You have to kneel a certain way. If you don't try it for yourself, you're never going to know that, hey, this didn't work for me. This didn't work for my firearm. My firearm likes to be sized this way, or my firearm likes to have the brass a certain way. So all of these techniques that you learn with other folks in the community, it's all tools in a toolbox. And there is no right technique, but only one that works for you. So the main goal is to basically learn these things. And if you do learn and you find it works for you, share it. Don't be that guy that says, hey, you have to do this, or be that keyboard warrior. And that's the problem that we're seeing in this community. Folks need to learn just to share, because this is a dying art. You don't see guys my age learning or willing to teach this anymore. These kids nowadays are stuck on their freaking keyboards and computer games and all that crap. You're not going to have hunters in 20 years that know how to hand load, a 120 grain SST 30-06 bullet that will spank on mule. I mean, it's just, dude, where's that going to be? So until we are willing to share that, you're not going to see that no more, and that's going to be, unfortunately, the negative of what I foresee coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the community. If you look back on the firearms community, you have when I was growing up back in the 70s, you had the older guys that would know quite a bit, and the reason being is for the last 45 years they've been shooting guns and doing their own gunsmithing and this and that. And that's when I got into IPSC when I was a young man, and shooting 1911s, and I learned a little bit here, a little bit there. Now you have like a big encyclopedia of whatever you want to know, instantaneous gratification. The problem with that is you can learn a lot of things, but you have to actually experience a lot of this stuff to get what we as reloaders call a feel for it, so that you can actually see and experience different. You have to experience making loads high pressure before you can actually look at it and say, okay, now I see what they're talking about, because I'm seeing flattened primers. I'm seeing craters in the firing pin hole strikes. I'm seeing swipes. I'm seeing ejector marks. Okay, this makes sense now, because you were taught the knowledge by being told it. But until you experience it for yourself, and that knowledge really is just sitting dormant, waiting to be used. And that's why I say, get out, and instead of spending the money on a rifle, get a little cheaper rifle and buy some ammunition or a reloading thing, and hit it all, dive in feet first and start doing it. That's what I'm saying. If you guys want to do it, there's guys here that'll help you. Kenny, me, AR, our whole community that's in the side chat right now. All you got to do is ask the questions, and we'll steer you in the right direction. But it's up to you to learn the experience from it and benefit from the information.
Yeah, that's kind of why I really am happy and kind of excited sharing this Ruger American rifle. The only funny part about that whole series is the fact that off the shelf that thing shot, sub MOA. So it was really hard. It's kind of hard to show that, hey, can you get much better with just a factory rifle that shoots a .7? But the truth is, with the video I have coming out, it's a .3 shooter. And I can say that it consistently shoots a .3 with factory ammunition. So when folks buy these rifles, and this came from my experience, you guys seen it with my Mossberg 100 ATR, which is now that 308 F-class rifle that I built. The best thing you want to do is get yourself match grade ammunition and shoot it through your firearm right out of the box. If it doesn't shoot under MOA accuracy, and it's a 1.5 inch gun, there's something wrong with that barrel. I can guarantee you that rifle should be shooting at least sub MOA with today's manufacturing process. It's nothing to do with the stock. If you can check all of these things, making sure your action screws are tight, making sure your scope base is tight, all of that other stuff. Do all the basics, get all the low-hanging fruit out the way. But if that rifle won't shoot with factory match ammunition, don't even waste your time with hand loading. So that's on this video. What I'm trying to emphasize is you can spend, and this I've done this a lot of times, spend tons and tons of time in reloading components. You add up the cost of all that, well, that's over $300 usually, just in a few boxes of trying to pick out a hand load. That
and
money
that's
could have
your
been
time, and your time is free, because you're not even counting how many hours you've spent. And most of us that are in professional careers or have been, we basically work up for, anywhere from $25 to $55 an hour. You start adding that up, and you would have been much better just putting a new barrel on the rifle.
Exactly, and that's why I was really promoting this shop. Because for one, I don't know many manufacturers out there right now, and I was glad to see the inside of Anthony Ward and how he does Crown Ridge barrels. His turnaround times are fast. I mean, within a week. I don't know many manufacturers that can do that. So, and they're top-notch quality. In fact, that Savage rifle that I have, I didn't build that barrel. That barrel was from him. So those quarter-inch the groups that you saw on my channel, and those sub-quarter-inch groups, that's his barrel. He made that. So it's kind of can be a little shocker to some, but yeah, so definitely I'd say if it won't shoot accurate with MOA match ammo, and go ahead and consider yourself how much it would cost for you to work up a load just for to do that versus you just buying a pre-fit barrel. So on the next video coming up that I have, I'm showing basically how a regular ordinary person can rent the tools like an action wrench or the go and no-go gauges. You can rent those from 4D Rentals. Go in halves with a friend and rebarrel a rifle for less than $380. So.
That's going to be a good series, and I'm going to put Eagle when I get to the putting the description box in. I'm going to do Eagle Eye Shooting. Isn't that your YouTube channel? Eagle Eye Shooting.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to that in there because he's got a lot of information on there, and we'll do the other link that I told AR to remind me about. AR. What was the other link? What was the other link?
The link Kenny was talking about
for Vitabori
series. If you give me a wrench, I have the link right now. I can post it for everybody. This is part 1 from Jack Neary. Jack Neary is a world-class known reloader and shooter. He's up there. He's got obviously very sponsored and very high-end equipment. However, there's a lot of little key points that you could take out of it. There's a lot of things he's going to explain which will fly over even my head on the reloading aspect of things. And do know that his equipment is everything is tight tolerance, everything is custom made. So if you're expecting a 0.2-inch shot or a 1-inch group at 600 yards, it's more than likely not going to happen unless you get to those tighter tolerances. So that's where you have to kind of draw the line. And ideally, if you think about it, people are really chasing this accuracy. You go back to what is your goal? Like, what do you do? Well, I only shoot at 600 yards. Okay, well, how big of a target? Well, about a 5-inch plate at minimum. I want to be able to shoot a 5-inch plate at 600 yards. Well, you could definitely do that. Just learn a little bit key points of the reloading aspects of certain things, and you'll do that with your factory rifle. So,
yeah, that's awesome, Kenny. I want to have you back on in a future show, and because I've got, I think, a project that is going to be interesting for you as a shop owner, and I can supply the actual project and the money for whatever's needed, and we'll get something turned out and see what we can do. Because I've got a rifle that'll shoot an inch at 100 yards, and you start pushing it, and it loses MOA. And for the price that those rifles go for, I should be getting sub MOA right out of the box with factory, like Federal Premium Match Grade or Hornady Match. I should be getting sub MOA, all the way out to 1,000 yards, and I'm not getting it past 200 yards. So,
well, that whole video series, if you guys remember that TC Compass that was in 308 when I first got it, how many videos did I put out with that freaking thing doing test loads? I was like, and that's just on camera. Off camera, I think I wasted 3 times the amount of what that rifle even cost. And what did I end up doing? Swap a barrel on that freaking thing, and now it shoots under 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
It's like,
and all that money you spent on and aggravate. And here's the other thing that people don't tell you about. You lay at night when you're building a rifle for somebody, and you will literally lay there, can't sleep because you've discovered a problem and you're just constantly thinking about it. And I've gotten up at 3:30 in the morning before my wife go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just figured it out." And she'll just be like, "Whatever." And I'll come in the shop and I'll start tinkering, and I'm like, yep, there it was. I just had to find that one thing that I had to do, and there it is. And once you find that, it just becomes you feel good inside about it, and you just want to tell people, hey, look what I discovered. This is
absolutely.
and that's the thing, that sharing, is part. And this is what I'm trying to reach out to gun shop owners that are mom and pop and other YouTube channels, and bring our community together stronger, and start helping each other and promoting each other's channels, and try to give. If you're looking back at somebody, it should just be to grab their hand to help them up. And I stole that from 76 High Boy. So High Boy, if you're out there listening or whatever, that there's a shout out. Go by and check his channel out too. He's a good fella in the community. But yeah, Kenny, I want to thank you, brother, for coming on here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And chatting with me and AR here and the rest of the gang, and everyone in the side chat. Thank you for coming on and hanging out with us, and everyone. We are going to jump off right now because we have another show starting after us, the Georgia Shooting Connection. So basically, we're going to go ahead and call it off right now and shut her down. And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you coming out and joining us. And you will see Kenny again shortly on the show. I will be having him back on, and we will be doing a project together as well. Anything you would like to say, Kenny?
No, I really appreciate everybody came on. I appreciate for having us here. AR, you got to check out his channel too, 1776 AR Gun 1776. Got another great live chat, and like I said, it's all about supporting each other. So there's always information, always something to learn from anybody, regardless. So just go ahead and sub out and check out the channels, and you'll pick up something here and there.
Yeah. That's some wise advice. AR, you going to say anything, brother?
Good night, all. We'll see y'all later. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. Good having you, Kenny. Listening to you.
Absolutely.
Some good knowledge. Appreciate it, Echo, for the show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming on and helping me out, brother. Everyone out there in the audience, you have a good night. See you around.
See you.